Hello and welcome to this interview. And with me today, I have no less than Lyssa Adkins. I'm very happy to have you in the program and also in this interview. Hello, Lyssa. And
Hello.
hello.
Uh,
For those that don't know you, could you please present yourself?
sure. As you just heard, my name is Lyssa Adkins, and I'm an agility and leadership coach. And for about 10 years, I was a passionate player in the emergence of Agile coaching as a profession. And during that time, people would call me the coach of Agile coaches. But for the last few years, maybe the last 5 or so, I've been focusing on leaderfulness and how we build more leaderfulness in organizations, and also how top leadership teams can function better. And along the way, I wrote this book called Coaching Agile Teams, which is now 13 years old and is still doing its work in the world. And so I support other people as they're learning from that through programs. Most recently, a guided study and practice program that I've just created.
Oh, great. I really love your book, by the way. It's fantastic. So this program is about leading in complexity. Could you please let us know a little bit how your view about complexity?
The thing that helps me get to the essence of complexity is this idea that in a complex environment, the same inputs do not give you the same outputs. And how aggravating and confounding is that? It would be so nice if we could reproduce the same thing again and again, and that there were not that many surprises. And in a complex, interconnected, always on, ever changing environment, we don't get to choose the surprises, and we don't get to settle down into the one way it's always going to work. So that's how I think about complexity.
Yeah, so how should we deal with this continuously changing world?
The interesting thing about a continuously changing world is that it is full of opportunity, as long as you don't find your personal sense of safety in a specific outcome happening a specific way. So in the work that I do with leaders and with the functioning of leadership teams, that's something we're always confronting, because people want it a certain way and they see it that they could be that way. And in previous eras, it was actually possible to predict things more accurately, to plan to get there. And, you'd still have some surprises, but be more or less a straight line, and not so anymore. And so, of course, this rocks each of us, it rocks us right to our core, goes right to our sense of safety and belonging and significance. And so then we get to work with identity crises, which are super fun, wonderful, challenging moments in people's lives.
Yeah, great. So your speech at the program will be about our planetary challenges and about the Agilist emerging superpowers. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, and what will people bring with them after your session?
Yeah, so the angle I'm going to take here is through this idea of Agilists having emerging superpowers and us being in a world of planetary challenges, is the question of what is the leader's agile transformation? And for those of you listening to this, I just did agile in air quotes because I think it's important to mark that for leaders, their transformation is necessarily different than what other people in the organization go through when they are starting to use Agile or any of these future of work process and human technologies. And how it links to planetary challenges is that, well, 2 ways I would say. I predict that pretty soon our planetary challenges, things like really intense storms caused by climate change, things like the rise of extremism and mass migration for any number of reasons, war and climate change, whatever, like all of those things are going to be big business at some point. So that's one angle about planetary challenges. But the other angle is that we might not have enough minds in the game in order to meet our planetary challenges. And so the question I'm always holding is, what can leaders and leadership teams do in their organizations to increase people's engagement in their organizations, not only for the organization's good, but for the coming challenges that we're likely to face? And, that gets to the existential question of, will we still be here as a thriving human existence on the planet?
Ooh, this is really big questions.
Really big questions.
Yeah. Wow. Will you fit that all in 90 minutes? That's
Oh, well,
super.
and we're just going to take it really like down to 3 specific things
Yeah.
that I have found are useful as I've been working with leaders and leadership teams. And I keep saying leaders and leadership teams as 2 separate things because I do think there is a role for leaders to develop their own complexity as individual people. But the way we find our way together is in how leadership teams function. And I often say that what happens in the leadership team happens to the organization. And so often you can see a microcosm of how the organization is behaving based on how the leadership team functions. And so it's really high impact. It's super high leverage for leadership teams to function well. So long story short is we're going to hit 3 things: upgrade, downshift, and expand. So back to the complexity thing you just asked me. So upgrade is about upgrading one's own mental complexity. And guess what? There are lots of known ways to do this. Upgrade. So the second one is downgrade, ways to downgrade one's own nervous system. And as I worked with leadership teams more and more, I noticed, wow, that person's triggered. Oh, wait, hang on. Now that person's triggered. Now that one is. And before you know it, we have a bunch of people in a conversation, and their executive functions, their ability to function and think critically and to have empathy for one another, is actually offline. And they're trying to make difficult decisions in that environment. It doesn't work so well. So there are ways to downshift rather, one's own nervous system. So that's upgrade, downshift. And the third one is expand. And it's expanding the capabilities of the leadership team itself. I talk about 5 core competencies that every team, but especially leadership teams, need to develop in the way they function. And so that's basically it. This is not necessarily the end all be all, like a perfect model of everything leadership teams and leaders need, but these are the 3 things that I'm noticing are hindering our ability to be more of a match for leading in complexity.
Great. I'm really happy that you talk about leadership teams, not leadership groups, because to be honest, most leadership constellations I meet are groups. Like they're not working together. They are rather trying to make sure that their department looks better than the other ones, not collaborating. So very interesting. Also, I want to hear more about this upgrade. Sorry, you have to help me.
Upgrade, downshift, expand.
That's exactly. And those 5 core competencies, right?
Mhm.
Oh, really interesting. So November 21 for everyone. That is when we will hear more about this and more about you, Lyssa. I'm
And it's going to be it's going to be an interactive session. I want people to know that. So we'll hear some ideas from me, but then we'll be interacting with each other. And I think that can be really enlivening for people.
beautiful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.